Hey friends, I'm John Laspina, the Carnivore Teacher. I am not a type 2 diabetic, but I'm going to talk about type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes occurs when we purposefully, during the course of our lives, ingest too many starches, carbs, and sugar over a long period of time. Our pancreas, our beta cells, make insulin because we're normal and we're human and we're healthy, and that's what it does automatically, on demand. But if you're ingesting in too much, like our bodies are not meant to have this many carbs and that much sugar. Since the beginning of man on the planet and woman on the planet, we never ate this many carbs. We never ate so much sugar. And all of a sudden, since the late 1800s until present, we have all this ultra-processed and fast food, sugar. Carbohydrates turn into sugar. We have so much sugar that the pancreas is just pumping out the bolus of insulin. Pumping out so much insulin because it's being signaled to do so, because we're putting all the carbs and sugar in our body. The cells, the outside of the cells, have these receptors on them that sense the insulin, and when the insulin goes to the receptor, it's like a key. It opens up the cell and the nutrition can go in to the cell. That's one of the jobs of insulin. Those receptors start getting tired of hearing this enormous amount of insulin coming, knocking on the door, that it's reluctant to open up. But it will still open up, and the energy will go in. And then after a longer period of time, they won't open up. They are resistant to the insulin. So unfortunately, doctors think that the solution to this disease, which it's not a disease, it's something that we caused ourselves. This did not just happen. We made this happen to ourselves by our diet. The doctors think that we need to push more insulin. So let's inject ourselves with more insulin. So not only is our pancreas making insulin, but we're giving ourselves more insulin, and we're just smothering the cell with insulin, and the cell opens up and the energy goes in. You got all this extra insulin, all this extra glucose flowing through the body, causing all this damage, all these problems. And you know what happens? As time goes on, you have to give yourself more and more external insulin because your cells are becoming more and more insulin resistant. Type 2 diabetes is advanced insulin resistance. It's just a steep slope down. Obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart problems, disease, everything happens in a bad way when you're giving yourself so much insulin, hyperinsulinemia, and your body's making a ton of insulin, and you're ingesting all this carbs and sugar. So what's the answer? What can a type 2 diabetic do to solve their disease that they supposedly acquired? Number one, type 2 diabetes is not a disease that someone just acquires. Type 2 diabetes is a problem with our cells and our insulin and our blood sugar. And we did it to ourselves by overeating starch and sugar, carbs and sugar. So the solution is remove the starch and sugar. Remove the carbohydrates and the sugars, and very slowly over time, the cells will become more insulin sensitive. So when you're eating that protein, beef, lamb, pork, poultry, fish, and eggs, cooking in animal fats, there's no carbs or sugars in there. Very, very, very small amount of carbohydrates in eggs and shellfish, things like that. Eventually, the insulin that your own pancreas makes, it's sensitive. It opens up. The energy goes in. There isn't extra insulin floating around. There isn't extra glucose going back and making fat. And you become insulin sensitive again, and you don't have to take exogenous insulin. And you're not a type 2 diabetic anymore. You're in remission for the rest of your life as long as you eat the proper human diet, which is a diet full of animal products and very, very, very few carbohydrates. If you want to do plants and you want to go the ketovore route and do fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, as long as it's ultra low carbohydrate, your body will respond and become insulin sensitive, and you won't be a type 2 diabetic anymore. I recommend going carnivore because plants have starch. Starch turns into sugar. Fruits have sugar. and starch. They both have anti-nutrients, which cause a whole other slew of problems. But the main goal for a type 2 diabetic is to get the heck off of the carbs and sugar and starch completely, and you will heal yourself from the inside out. As long as your pancreas is working properly, everything's going to be fine. Type 1 diabetes is not the same creature. It's a completely different inherited autoimmune disease. That means the beta cells in your pancreas, type 1, stop making insulin, period. So now you've got to have some insulin or else you'll die. You'll starve to death. So you have to give yourself some insulin. You have to measure your blood. You have to give yourself just the amount. If you give yourself too much, you got to give yourself a little glucose. You have to think about it. Your body does this all for you if you have a normal pancreas. So type 1, it's not even related to type 2. I don't even know why they call them both diabetes. I think they should have two different names. So this video is about type 2 diabetes. You can heal yourself completely. You will be in remission for the rest of your life if you eat the proper human diet, eliminate starch and sugar, eat only beef, lamb, pork, poultry, fish, and eggs, cooking in animal fats. If you want to have some plants, I disagree, but you can. And you won't be a diabetic anymore, type 2. You'll be back to normal and you'll feel great. Pass this message on. The American Diabetes Society that Dr. Ken Berry and Ben Bickman started talks about this. They support this way of thinking. The American Diabetes Association, the old one, they are lying to you. They are telling you you can eat carbs, that you should eat carbs, that you should have some sugar. And they offer recipes with carbs and sugar, and they tell you to manage your type 2 diabetes because you have a disease. They are wrong, ladies and gentlemen. The ADA, shame on them. And guess who funds them with multi-millions, probably into the billions of dollars? Coca-Cola, Nestle. All the sugary food companies have a vested interest in them, so they have to push their products. So instead, get your information from the ADS, the American Diabetes Society. I will put a link in the show notes, and you can go there and learn about taking care of type 2 diabetes and getting rid of it and healing. If you like this content, click the thumbs up, share, subscribe, and have a great day. And eat right, and you'll feel great.